Hey everyone, I'm here with the 10th person voted out of Survivor NCSU Season 2, Sean. Sean, how's it going?
Going great. How are you, Andres?
I'm pretty good. I'm excited to get into this because I feel like, admittingly, you did have a bit of a quieter edit throughout the season, but I also think probably one of the more interesting arcs of all the players ultimately getting sixth place. I want to start with your positioning on the original Danos tribe. Y'all won like the first couple of challenges, so we didn't really get to see where a lot of your heads at. Like, who are you close to? Who are you aligned with? And like, what were your kind of thoughts going into the beginning of the game?
I think everyone was close to Mark. I think Mark did a great job of like talking to each one of us more than we talked to anyone else. But what I could see from the beginning was there was sort of like a hierarchy forming with Mark and then Lindsay at the top. And I thought that like if the game kept going like that, it would just not be good for me, no matter if the Danimals tribe won everything or not. So as soon as I started seeing that, I was trying to work from the bottom and um, talk to other people like Jacob and Nikki and Jake. But the whole thing about us winning immunity was partially it caused us not to talk strategy. So the goal was just to save our like mental health for later on. We knew we would have to vote someone out. So it was all about just relaxing and trying not to think about strategy. I didn't do a lot of the confessionals because I didn't want to be in the strategy mode. I didn't want my whole game was to try to observe and fly under the radar. And I knew if I was at all in my mind strategizing, it would come out in the way I talked. So my goal was just fly under the radar. Don't do confessionals. Don't talk strategy really. Just observe. And that's what I was doing for the first part of the game.
Mhm. I mean, you were put on the tribe with two returning players, Jake and Jacob, and it seems like from what I'm understanding, like they weren't really a part of that like core power structure that you just talked about. Like, were you aware of the games that they played coming into season two, and like what was your kind of mentality about like the returning players coming into the season?
I mean, for me, I didn't look at them as any sort of threat because I thought they're already understanding that they're a threat. So that's going to like counteract it. They're not going to be playing super hard from the beginning because they know they're going to have a target in the back. Um, from what I saw in the first season, I kind of skimmed through it. Jacob seemed like he was a solid player, so I wanted to play with him. Um, but yeah, it was funny to see Jacob in the confessionals saying like he hated that I think Lee was voted out or something. So like Jacob the whole time was hoping to make like a Returners alliance, I think, but it just never worked out. And I couldn't tell. So I mean, all I could see was that they were just hoping to fit into the group, staying on the outside and just like I was doing, observing. You know,
Mm-hmm. I mean,
yeah,
in the merge, during touchy subjects, you won the most likely to flip.
right.
But like before the merge, you were on a swap tribe with Jacob, Nikki, Mark, Jay, and Ryder, and you did end up voting out Jay and Ryder. Was the plan always in your head to stay strong at that point in time?
That was way too early. Also, it just didn't make sense with the numbers. Like even if I switched, it would have made it a tie, right? So at best, I think. So the goal was always just to play it cool and quietly work myself into a position where I could make a big move. And then that's when I could really see all angles when I had built a little bit of trust and talked to people, and people just thought I was someone that would go along with the plan. So I never made decisions. I always try to get the other person to make the decision. I tried to act meek, a little dull at times. I just didn't want anyone to see me stand out at all. And I was still in that mode at that time. So it was just don't talk too much strategy, don't try to make any big moves. Yeah, it was too early at that time. Also, I was trying to make an alliance with Jacob and Mark and Nikki at that time too. So yeah,
Mhm. Yeah. So going into the merge, we really see you as honestly the only person willing to flip on like the large Daniels like contingent. You voted with Anna. You voted to vote. You voted out Anna with the Vega trio. You flipped to vote Jake. To vote Caleb out, and then you flipped back to vote Lindsay. It seemed like your game never really aligned with the Vega trio, so the moves that you were trying to make never ended up working out. Like, what about it do you think? Like, what was the reason for that? You think?
I mean, there's a couple reasons. I always cite lack of communication. So I switched on Caleb, but I only did that because I knew they had idols. So like, we had talked before the tribal council, and they said we both have idols, and we're both going to play them. And I said, okay, I'm going to vote you, so that they think I'm on their side still. But vote Lindsay out. And then we get in a tribal. and they're like, "Who are we gonna vote out, guys? Someone talk to us." And I was sitting there like, "Oh, God, please vote Lindsay out. Like, don't talk about it." It's like, vote Lindsay out. And they wanted me to go over there and strategize with them. And I was like, if I go over there, they're gonna know I'm with you. So like, I can't go over there. In retrospect, once again, I think it went down to communication. I think if I would have more clearly laid out the reasoning why I wanted Lindsay out and that I thought Jacob would possibly be on our side in the future, or else I didn't see Lindsay doing that. Now maybe I was wrong about that, but that's how I saw it at that time. Maybe it would have gone differently. Even in the merge, when we first wanted to flip, like I just taught them in the woods, Aziza, Quinn, and Caleb, and I said vote Anna. That's I don't think I gave them too much of a reasoning why I wanted Anna out. And on their side, they didn't really know if I was legit or not. I think that's why they went up to Jacob because they weren't 100% sure about me really voting with them. And I can't blame them because I didn't talk to them too much. So in retrospect, a lot of times it was about lack of communication that could have been more clearly done. But I mean, my whole strategy was flying the radar, don't make any, um, impressions. So I think that was part of why I didn't feel comfortable just spending a lot of time talking to them. Yeah.
I mean, after the season, obviously, I've been talking to people as they've been voted out, and specifically like Aziza and Quinn, two people of that Vega trio, has said that they really like. I feel like connected with you once the merge hit. Do you think that if you were maybe on a tribe with them starting off, that you would have had a better chance to make it further in the game?
I mean, it depends on who else was on the tribe. Um, but I think we talked before the show started and we were kind of vibing a little bit. And I'm a more quiet person. So when I was put on the humanity tribe and everyone was really loud and social, it was like I knew I was going to have to adapt a bit. So maybe if I was put on Aziz and Quinn's tribe, it would have been different. But yeah, I can't say.
Mhm. Yeah, a big force in the game was the Girls Alliance, and it seemed like you were kind of the first one to clock it, and it seemed like you really wanted to target Anna, and you targeted Anna pretty consistently throughout the merge. Like when was it for you that you realized the girls like were pretty linked up, and like why did you choose to target Anna versus the other two?
Right. I've seen Survivor. Like girls' alliances happen. Oftentimes they get really far. I was looking in the woods when we had merged. Yeah, and I think I saw Aziza, Lindsay, Nikki, and Anna talking, and I was like, well, that's not good. Like, I mean, I knew right away that's what was happening. And I sort of started pointing it out to people as like this could be a thing. And then I don't remember who I heard talking about it, one of the girls or something, but um, it was just I don't remember exactly what I noticed, but something just clued me in that there was a girls' minds happening. As far as why Anna, I mean, there's a few reasons. So I was in alliance with Mark. I was in alliance with Mark, Nikki, and Jacob, and I was in alliance with possibly like later on Aziza, Quinn, and Caleb. Anna pulled all those people into all of her alliances with her. So she was in alliance with Mark and Lindsay. I was not in that alliance. She was in alliance with Nikki and the girls' alliance, and then she was also allying herself with Aziz and Quinn. So to me, getting her out sort of weakened all the alliances that I was not in, and to me, she seemed to be the ringleader of the girls' alliance, and she was a big threat. And Mark, as far as I was concerned, was going to go right after her because they were the two biggest threats. But I couldn't get Mark out first because, as far as I was concerned, Anna was going to help him, and she was never going to vote him out. So first, I needed to pitch Mark with, "We got to get the girls' alliance out. So let's get Anna out first, and then it would be Mark next." Um, and also, she was really tight with Lindsay. I didn't think you could break them up, and I probably wouldn't be able to work with Lindsay unless she was out. So, a few reasons. Yeah.
Mhm. Well, how do you think your relationship with Mark kind of evolved once the merge hit? Because it did seem like, from my perspective, that the game was full of like a lot of pairs, a lot of trios, and you were seen as like again, from my eyes, as a duo with Mark. But then as the game progressed, he started siding more with the girls. Like, do you think it was something on either of your ends, or it was just how like the game ended up shaking out?
I think when I went to Mark, I could never tell where Mark's loyalty lied, and that was just him doing a great job of letting everyone think that he was really tight with them, right? But I could tell what he was doing. I could tell he had the same thing with Anna and Nikki, and the only way to really know was to force him into a corner where he had to pick. And part of that was why I told him about the flip that I tried to do with the Vegas tribe, was I was trying to see if he would vote with us or not. In retrospect, terrible idea telling him. But so when he decided to vote with Anna, I think he had chosen a side, right? He chose that. I mean, he had the numbers with them, he was already allied with Anna and Lindsay. Whereas if he had gone with me, it would have been me and the Vega tribe who he wasn't really allied with, and he would have had to stick with us. It just didn't make sense with him number wise. Um, but yeah, I think after that point, he was never really going to flop on the original Danimals alliance of the girls alliance and him. Yeah,
Hmm. Sean, a question I have to ask. How did that cat food taste?
it was. I mean, it's hard to describe because it was like one of the. It probably was the worst thing I've ever eaten in my life. It was like if you'd imagine like the texture of vomit in little like cardboardy chunks of like slightly fishy, like slimy stuff. It was just I just remember focusing on only the physical action of like chewing and just staring into space, like trying to get all my willpower to like not vomit. Um, yeah, that's disgusting.
Yeah. Would do you regret it? And like, what would make you willingly do that again?
No, yeah, never, ever.
Nothing.
Um, I mean, do I regret it? No, I wanted to win that challenge. I just knew. I was annoyed that like they got pickled eggs and beets, which both of those things I can eat, and then I get like canned eel, which is to me disgusting. Um, but yeah, no, I was gonna win that challenge for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. So I want to talk about the tribal specifically when you went home. Maybe in your head it was kind of apparent that you were definitely like on the outs and on the bottom, so much so that you physically separated yourself from everyone in the tribal council area. Did you think it was that much of a foregone conclusion that you were going home no matter what?
I mean, yeah, it was kind of funny because like, so I lose the challenge immediately, right? So like at that point, I knew my fate was in the hands of the other tribe members. And we get back to tribal, and I go, Nikki and I talk in the woods. And at that point, my pitch was let's try to get Mark out because the previous vote, we were supposed to vote. Well, we voted out Caleb, and Mark had told us that he was going to vote with us because last second before we go in there, Lindsay comes to Quinn and says vote Mark out. So we used that as like, Mark, they're gonna get you out. You gotta vote with us. And he was like really riled up, and he was like, yeah, like he's gonna vote with us. And then we get in there, and he's able to like talk himself down and get back with his alliance. With props to him, that solidified his alliance with the girls even more. So, but at that point, my point is, I knew Mark was not gonna vote with me after that point. So it was the time to like get him out, if any time. So I tried to pitch it to Nikki, who just didn't want to vote Mark out. And that just goes down to Mark being able to form those close connections with everyone. So I knew my options were running thin. Then I come back to the rest of the tribe, and Nikki goes and does a confessional, and everyone's standing around and like looking at me. And Andrew just goes, "Who were you talking about?" And it wasn't like a let's talk strategy. Who were you talking about? It was like, which one of us did you mention like, just now? Like, tell me. And I mean, we didn't really mention one except for Mark. So, um, and then I asked Quinn if he wanted to get water, and he said his water was already full. So I knew that was bad. And then Mark was also like, Mark was sick and he was like playing it up really theatrically. And the rest of the tribe was like around him, doting on him. It was just like a bizarre show of like, they definitely don't want to talk strategy. And so like all the writing was on the wall of like, they're going to vote you out. And then even if that wasn't enough, like before we go into the tribal council, Anna looks at me and goes, how do you feel? And I go, good. And she just looks surprised. Like everyone, it was just like such a known thing that I was gonna go out. Nikki even told me, I think I asked Nikki, and she was like, "Yeah, your name was getting talked about." So I think at that point, everyone just wanted to get to the next vote. I kind of assumed people would look around and be like, "I'm on the bottom. I'm gonna go next if I don't do something now with Mark and Anna." Um, but I think everyone was more focused on just getting to that next vote. So I should have been looking for idols. I should have pulled a Caleb and turn the force upside down. But
Hmm. I mean,
you
yeah,
know,
for as much as it kind of seemed like a foregone conclusion, the vote did end up being a 3-2-1. Were you surprised that Nikki ended up getting two votes?
I was super surprised. Yeah, I think I was trying to because I asked her who her final three was, and she said, her, Mark, and I think Lindsay. And my whole pitch was, Mark, who do you think would win? And she goes, probably Mark. And so my pitch was just like, let's try to get him out now. But she was so closely allied with Mark. And I think that caught her by surprise too, that, Mark sided with the others and did a split on her without telling her. Um, but yeah, I was super shocked. Yeah.
Mhm. I know there was suspicion regarding Nikki and like the advantage she won, which ended up
Right.
being a fake idol. Like, did you try to work that angle at all? Or like I know if you probably would have voted for Nikki, it would have been a 3-3 and a tie. Like, do you
Yeah.
think there might have been a possibility that like you survive an outcome of a tie at all?
No, they clearly just did that as a failsafe in case I had an idol. Um, the thing about the advantage, that's part of the reason why I wanted to strategize with her. I thought it might be an idol, and we could flip, switch things up. But what part of, my hopes sank when she told me her idol was just a fake advantage. So, um, yeah.
Okay. So I want to move into like the little game I do. Basically, I'm just gonna tell you the name of a juror and then just tell me your unfiltered thoughts, first word, sentence, phrase, whatever that comes to your mind.
Okay.
All right. So we'll start with Jake.
Um, Jake's a bit of a dark horse. Jake didn't talk too much, but he's got a good sense of humor. He's got good social skills. I think if he just had another chance to get a little farther, he would have done a lot better. Yeah.
Aziza.
Aziz is really smart. She tried telling me about her work, and I was just totally confused. Yeah, super smart.
Jacob.
Jacob is a company man. Jacob is sticking to the plan, no matter what. Yeah.
Caleb.
Caleb, to me, is like a true survivor. He was out there looking for idols. He was working every angle. He was talking to everyone. He knows the show really well. So to me, yeah, true survivor.
Quinn.
Quinn is a really thoughtful, like introspective guy. He never shows he's got a great poker face. I think a lot of people underestimate Quinn because of that, but he's really, really strategic.
Anna.
Anna is very analytical. When you're talking to her, you can see the gears turning. Like she's always thinking.
Nikki.
Nikki's really genuine. Like I said, she told me to my face they were voting me out. I mean, she's just pretty straightforward. Yeah.
Mark.
Mark is just a social person. He's a charismatic guy. He, like I said, talked to every single person, maybe except for Lindsay and Anna, more than they talked to any other person. So he had the social game on lock.
And Lindsay.
Um, during the game, I didn't think Lindsay was playing much of a game, but in fact, she was playing more behind the scenes. Um, she wanted to get Mark out, but we had never really gotten together because I think both of us thought that we wouldn't play with each other. So Lindsay was focused to just, it didn't show that much.
All right. Yeah. Like, we're a year out from the season. All the episodes have come out. Like, what are your like final thoughts on your performance and your experience overall with Survivor NCSU?
I mean, I wanted to go out there and play an exciting game and have fun, but I wanted to win in either an exciting way or lose in an exciting way. Just I could sort of see how the game was going, and I was either going to lose in a boring way or lose in an exciting way, possibly win. So I took the latter. So I don't regret anything. I had a great time. It's really cool to watch the show back. Definitely cracks me up sometimes. So thank you to you and everyone that did the filming, because of you, we have these memories to look back on. So yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. I thank you for joining me with this interview, and thank you for sharing your insights.
Awesome. Thank you, Andres.
Yeah, thanks.